Hi, I'm Kenneth Wajda. Welcome to my new channel. So I'm going to keep my other channel for photo talks and gear talks and photo walks where I actually take the camera out and I do some photos. But this channel is going to be all Leica because I have so much to say and there's so much to talk about when it comes to Leica photography. There have been photographers who have been so inspired, and this handmade gem of a camera, I'll be talking a little bit about digital Leicas, but I'll mostly be talking about film Leicas and how the different lenses work with them and what you can do, how small of a kit you can carry, and yet still have an incredibly capable tool for making great photographs. So this is a very small bag that I picked up somewhere along the line, and I liked it because you don't find a lot of bags this thin. And in it I can fit a Leica M6. Now I think the Leica M6, for a person who wants a camera meter, this is the best Leica. It doesn't require batteries for anything other than the meter, and so without the batteries you still have essentially a Leica M4. This is the first Leica I ever bought. I was looking online, watching the sale ads, and finally I found one at a town just north of me. There was a person selling a Leica M6. And I think I bought it with 2 lenses, and there was a third lens that I couldn't quite afford, but now I realize this was 15 years ago. It was a bargain compared to what costs are now for Leica cameras and lenses, and I probably should have bought it. But this Leica M6 is, for me, it has 28mm frame lines, and that's what I have on it. This camera right now with a 28mm 2.8 Elmarite is the setup that Gary Winogrand liked. He was known for shooting a Leica with a 28. Now, I'm a wide angle guy. If you followed any of my other work, and you know I love a wide angle that gets in close and gets in there and really shows what you feel like you're with the subject. For an environmental portrait, you feel like you're with them and you're looking around their space. I like that. So the Leica M6, would I recommend it? Wholeheartedly. It's one of those cameras that I carry around on a regular basis when I'm carrying a Leica. I don't always carry it in a case, and I don't have an ever-ready case, often labeled a never-ready case, around the camera because I find that those are in the way. A lot of times if I don't take that camera case, I'll just take this. Or I'll toss the camera case in the car. But the beauty of that camera case is inside of it, I can fit 2 other lenses. I have a 90mm 2.8, which the lens cap just fell off. I have a 90mm 2.8 that I don't use a lot of telephoto, but when I want one, look how small that 90 is. That gives you great capability in a very, very small package. And then I have this, which I love. This is a 50mm dual range. This actually worked as a close-up lens so that you could work in both the normal range from infinity down to about 3 feet. And then you could also move it to a different position and actually get closer. But I'm not using it that way, and I don't have the goggles that went on it. I do have them somewhere, but I don't know where. But this has a yellow filter on it at the moment. Let's take that off a second. But this 50mm lens, I would say, is the best, most incredibly designed and built Summicron that they ever made. This dual range is just like a solid piece of glass and brass, and I don't think I've ever worked with a Leica lens that felt as solid as this one. And it's a f2. Summicrons are all f2s. You may be familiar with them, and that's the lens that I would say if I had to choose one lens. even more than the Summilux, which is a 1.4. All Summiluxes are 1.4. I would choose this one because this lens is so incredibly sharp at f2, and the 1.4, it may be sharp, but I'm not sure it's worth the difference in price. But the Summicron f2, the dual range, is not the latest model, but this is a lens that I picked up with a different camera, I believe, and wholeheartedly like that. So with a system that only needs these two small lenses to have a 50 and a 90, and this to have a 28, frankly, I could put these in my coat pocket and not even need a bag. And I'm carrying a 28, a 50, and a 90 in a very, very small space. And I think that's what Leica was made for. When you think about what is the point of Leica, it was made because people didn't want to carry the large format camera. They didn't want to work with medium format or a speed graphic. They wanted to have something that they could get 36 shots in their pocket. That's what this does well. A Nikon F2 does not do that well. It doesn't fit in your pocket. It's gigantic. The same with the modern DSLRs. You can't carry them. And you can't carry them and all day feel like you have a 3-camera system with you and something that you want to not want to put down because they're so heavy. But this doesn't feel that heavy. I think that if you had to choose between all the different choices of the different Leicas, you want one camera with a meter, I would go with the M6. And their prices are going up. When I bought this, I think I paid maybe $1,600 for it. No, I don't think that's right. I paid $1,600 with the two lenses. That's when things were a bargain 15 years ago. Now, I've seen people listing this body for $3,000. If you can find one of these bodies for $1,500 or $1,000 somewhere, that's a bargain. But $3,000, that sounds like a lot for an M6. But prices are going up, and if you don't get in on it now, they're going to keep going up, and then you still won't have a Leica. And then they'll get even more expensive. So you do have to jump at some point. This is the first camera that I bought in the Leica system, and it's my recommendation for the metered camera. And in other talks, we'll be talking about other cameras, including other Leicas with meters. But if you want one solid built traditional Leica, there's a Leica M5 that doesn't look quite like this. We'll talk about that in a future episode. But if you want one solid Leica that's going to maintain its value, and I've often said this to people, if you buy this Leica today and you don't overpay for what they're going for on the used market, you can always get that money back. Leica M6s do not lose their value. Nothing that you can buy in Leica film cameras go from $3,000 today to being worth $1,000 in 6 months. They're already decades old. If they're worth $3,000 now and you don't break it, it'll still be worth $3,000 if that's what they're going for. And if you overpay by a few $100s, well, then maybe you'll lose a few $100s. But so what? You have a Leica for the length of time. That's a pretty small rental fee. But the way I see it, the Leica that you are buying, or you're only tying up your money. You're not really spending it. And that's a nice little justification. I have a friend who used to go to a convenience store, and the ATM inside didn't charge him a fee. And he would say, well, whenever I go to that convenience store, I like that store because when I use the ATM, they give me a free candy bar. And I said, they do? And he said, well, they don't charge me a fee, so I use the money that I would have paid in the fee and I go buy myself a candy bar. However you want to spin it. But the point is, this camera will be worth what you pay after you're done with it, if you ever are, because Leicas keep their value. It's handmade, German engineering, beautiful quality, and fully serviceable, easily can be repaired for many, many decades to come. You can't go wrong with the solid build of a Leica. And if you're thinking about it, now's the time, because why not? Now is the time to get yourself the best camera, and I would say this is the best camera that you can use. The best camera system for small format. We can't compare that to a Rolleiflex. We can't compare it to large format. They're different cameras for different purposes. But if you want 36 frames in your pocket, like Oscar Barnack first designed it so that it would be something that he could carry, put in his pocket, and have 36 frames in a very small system with a couple lenses that don't hardly take up any space and will fit in your jacket pocket, that Leica M6, that's the way to go. All right, that's today's photography talk. I'll be coming back with more talks regularly, so tune in. Thanks for being a part of my show, and here's everything Leica.